Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Ruoso. I'm a graphic designer and career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. From career struggles and anxiety to feeling like nothing is ever going to work out, I'm here to explore all the messy stuff that breaks us down and builds us up. So join me as we transform ourselves and finally ditch the struggle. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It has been a while, completely not intentional. I was ahead on all my scheduled recordings and getting them out because we were going to take time out of Canada. We went to Ireland and it was supposed to be for 5 weeks. It ended up being 7. And I could not really record over there. I mean, I could. Technically, I could. I brought everything with me, but I had very little time on my own. We were living with our in-laws, and I tried one episode. I thought I had some time to myself. The whole family came back early. The whole episode was just not great. I trashed it. I thought it was awful. That's after starting it 14 times. I have an episode that I will be recording now that I am back on empaths and narcissists. So that's going to be a great episode, but I tried it there. It didn't work. I gave up. I thought, I'm just going to wait till I get home. And I am so happy to be home because home is where I feel grounded. And as amazing as the trip was, and I'll share some of the fun stories from that, what I did realize is that if I don't have a home base, if I'm not settled somewhere, it's very difficult for me to work. It's very difficult for me to kind of function and think clearly. I had some big decisions to make over there and things to think through. And I found it very hard. I kept saying to myself, well, I'll figure this out when I get home. I'll figure this out when I get home. And it's true, like as soon as I got home, I'm feeling so much more clear. And that's not because I don't love being away. Love spending time with my family over there. But the radical honesty you need to have with yourself about, okay, where do I feel good? Where do I operate best? I do like to spend time away, but not for huge amounts of time, maybe. I'm not someone that dreams of traveling all the time. I don't have a case of wanderlust. I need a home base. And a lot of that is, if you have really done any in-depth astrology, and I'm going to do a separate episode. And actually, the guy who did my astrology reading, he was so fantastic. I would love to have him on the show because I don't have any earth energy in my chart. I am like water and fire and air, and I need to feel grounded. And how that happens for me is to, well, A, be around other grounded people who have earth energy in their chart, and to be home, to have that space where I can just kind of settle in. When I move somewhere, it takes me a really long time to feel settled. The house we're in now, it took years for us to feel settled. So this is the great part. This is why this trip was actually really good for us, because especially for me, was to feel uncomfortable. I needed to feel deeply uncomfortable, and I knew going in that I would. And I hadn't felt deeply uncomfortable for a while. Now, when our dog passed away in December, I really kind of, obviously the grief was there and I wanted to hibernate and kind of stay home. I wasn't really going out. I needed to process. So that was a discomfort of its own right. But I was kind of not hiding, but just choosing not to go out. And I thought, okay, this trip will be a great kick in the pants, so to speak. It's like we needed to spend time with his family over there. So we made this decision to go and spend more time in Ireland, like a good chunk of time in Ireland. I was able to work from there. I only took the first kind of maybe 12 days off. And Declan had some time off work. So this is what we did. And how the trip went was, starting off, we flew into Dublin and got into a rental car. Well, Declan was driving. I don't drive over there. And this like rental car that was way bigger than we expected. I don't know how someone who's not used to driving over there would have handled it. But we took off to the West Coast, Galway. His family's on the West Coast. And we started there and started in Doolin, actually, which is near the cliffs of Moher, which is actually a little north of there. But we did start in Galway, kind of spent some time in Galway City for the day. That had a totally different vibe than we remembered. We hadn't been there in many years. We didn't actually love it. We left the city a little earlier than expected because we didn't really enjoy it. Felt a little sad. And I will say that Ireland is just obviously the most beautiful country. I've spent so much time there. But since the day I started going there, I have always felt that there was a deep sadness to the country. Now, the history will explain that. It has gone through so much. Have been so much conflict, obviously the famine. An interesting topic to dive into that I looked into years ago was like Irish slaves, which most people don't know about. So there's a lot of really heavy history. And you can kind of feel it in the country as much as it is all about celebration, music, community. There is also a weight to this place, and there's a lot of challenging economic experiences going on there, really everywhere. So in every country, and you can feel it there. So leaving Canada, which is going through a lot, going to there, which is going through a lot, it was kind of interesting to see almost a parallel. And we didn't really enjoy being in Galway, so we took off and then we drove to Doolin, which we stayed for a couple nights, and we wanted to see the Cliffs of Moher. Now, I've seen them. I went to Ireland and did a whole tour with one of my friends when I was like only 20, because I had a friend going to Trinity College, and Deck had never seen the cliffs. I was like, you have to see them. You're Irish. You got to see them. So we had an amazing time. We went on the Doolin ferry, which goes obviously into the ocean. So you're seeing the cliffs from below, and it is so incredible. It's magical. I believe part of a Harry Potter movie was filmed there, and it's spectacular. We got sunburned on the boat. There was so much sun. I came back from Ireland with a bit of a tan, which is kind of crazy. So we got a little bit of sun over there. We saw the cliffs, and then we walked to the cliffs. I find it hilarious that there's people on YouTube that complain about that there's a wall. Yeah, there's a wall so you don't like plummet to your death and fall 5,000 feet into the ocean. But when I saw the cliffs originally so many years ago, there was no wall. You could literally walk to the edge and just hang over, and people were doing that. I can only imagine now that everyone has a cell phone, how many people would fall off this cliff if they didn't have the wall. It's maybe like 4 feet tall now. It's a stone wall. It looks old. They've done a great job. But I found it hilarious that people were complaining about the wall on YouTube. Like, we watched some videos before we went. I'm short and I could still see over it fine. So it's all good. We had a great time. We did all the walks around there. And then we drove a little bit further north. We went to Kylemore Abbey, which is in Connemara, and this is a stretch on the West Coast. I mean, I'm very biased thinking that the West Coast is the most beautiful because I spend so much time there. But Kylemore Abbey, it is this massive mansion house that was literally built as a summer home, I think in the early 1900s. And we did that whole tour. And then there's these magical gardens that we went through. Like, the amount of magical gardens you find in Ireland, you truly do walk around just waiting for a fairy to pop out or like a little gnome. It's just, it's surreal because it's so enchanting. The trees have moss all over them. There's always some kind of river or waterfall near where you are. Wildflowers everywhere. It's like chaotic, but it feels very harmonious. So it's a really beautiful feel. So many times I did feel grounded over there, even though I was displaced from my home or like not where I'm used to spending every single day. But I was able to really connect with nature. Nature is my happy place. We are both obsessed with trees. We talk to trees. We thank the trees. So we really tried to spend as much time in nature as possible. That was a huge part of the trip, just to feel grounded and connected. And there is such a deep energy to the country that feels very potent and powerful. we were taking off our shoes as much as possible, just like walking around barefoot in places where we could just really be on the earth and have that connection. So we loved going to Culmore Abbey, and then kind of kept going up the coast and made our way to, he's from the County Leitrim, which is kind of a farming county, and spent some time with the in-laws. I kind of basically moved into their house. We had an ensuite room on the main floor with a bedroom that I'm going to guess is about like 10 by 12 feet with like a little double bed. I think the beds in Ireland, they are like smaller, made for like little fairy people. So we had this tiny room, and this became my home base. So again, we were there for 5 weeks. Well, we were supposed to be there 5 weeks. We stayed an extra 2 because we decided to not come back while the air quality was really bad in Toronto because of fires. And I knew that would give me a huge amount of anxiety. So it was quite interesting because I was ready to go kind of home at the 5-week mark. But when we were thinking about staying longer, intuitively, I was like, actually, we need to change this ticket. Like, we need to stay longer. So we found 2 seats left on a flight 2 weeks later. And then it was crazy. The amount of things that happened that were meant to happen while we were still there. Suddenly, Declan's brother, they'd been trying to find a house to move into. They found a house, and Declan was able to help them move. And moving is Declan's zone of genius. He can like pack a truck like nobody else. And just, there were so many things that happened after we decided to stay the extra 2 weeks. He ran into certain people. I kept calling the trip his reunion tour because he is from a tiny town. His parents own the grocery store, so they literally know everybody. He was able to just meet more people, see more people, run into people. I got another appointment that I wanted with an osteopath over there. So it was a great reminder of like to follow your intuition. And I really was happy that we stayed the couple weeks. So it was 7 weeks, a long, long time. And then we were living in this room that was like 10 by 12. And when I say living, I was like, well, sleeping there. We moved a desk down from upstairs so I can have like a little home office into this room. We found a office chair somewhere else in the house, and I had to wheel it in every morning and wheel it out every time I was done at the end of the day because there was really no room to walk around the bed with the chair there. And then this room also became my workout space. And it was like, I'd like to do my eccentrics stretches, kind of these workouts every morning. And I was pretty determined to stick to as many parts of my routine as possible. I was like, okay, I'm in this tiny room. It was really the only place I had that had privacy. I had about a 4.5 by 4.5 square of space, like not enough really for a yoga mat. I didn't even bring a yoga mat. So I had this little space. I was like, okay, this is my workout room, like behind the door. And that's where I would do it most days. And I had to keep shuffling my feet so that I could flail in each direction. But I made it happen. And I remember I would tell my mother-in-law, I was like, okay, I'm going in to do my stretches. Like sometimes I would do in the afternoon. And she's like, well, you're very sensible. And I was like, I thought that was a funny comment. I don't know if I was being sensible, but really what it was for me is I'm not a fan of making excuses, even if you don't have the ideal environment. And environment's very important to me. It's very hard for me when I'm displaced. But I was like, I'm going to do this no matter what, because I need to support myself mentally and physically while I'm here. And I don't want to go back feeling worse physically or mentally. I just wanted to be able to kind of give myself the best advantage possible. Not doing things because the conditions are not ideal is often for me a form of self-sabotage. I've done so much of that self-sabotage story over the years, and I hate it. Like, I just don't want to be feeling bad about myself. So if I didn't kind of keep up with my routine, I was going to end up feeling shitty about myself. And then, you kind of go into a downward spiral. And it's like, I'm not going to let that happen. Even if it's not ideal and I'm going to keep shuffling around this room, I'm going to do it. So I did my best to kind of make that happen. But yeah, I was amazed. I looked around and I was like, Deck, I have spent a lot of time in this tiny room, and worked, slept, exercised, and all the things. So, but it was incredible to kind of have that shift of environment, and again, to be a little bit uncomfortable, to see other parts of the world, and to really spend as much time in nature as possible. Most mornings, we would do a walk into an Irish forest. Again, completely magical with all those trees and like the river, and there was literally a bridge going over the river, and the trees were like, I don't know, hundreds of feet high, some of them. I definitely recommend going there if you can at some point. And just connecting to, it's just different connection to nature than you would have over here. And then it was really great to see how I do feel Declan's very much more settled there. Like, he feels more grounded there. I kind of feel more grounded here because we come from different countries, right? Which can be a challenge. But it was a really good experience to be away. But that really did affect, I found it harder to work because I was on, trying to work Canadian hours. That was a challenge. Podcast kind of went out the window, and then I had to just let that go and not be as stressed about that. Knowing that I would get back to it when I could. So I'm really happy to be back for this. And I have some good episodes planned. I also have some conversations back. So we will be having guests chatting. I've got some people I've reached out to. We've got some booked, and there's lots of good stuff to come. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update, why I was away, what happened. I'm now doing the photo dump on Instagram, so you can check that out. I don't post my travel in real time, so I was very quiet for a long time. I've got lots of photos to share. Although I'm not as obsessed with taking photos as some visual designers would be. You would think maybe I'd have thousands. I don't. I've got, I don't know, maybe 100 photos. And they are of places that I've loved and look forward to seeing again. But having said that, I don't know if I've ever been so happy to be home. When I walked in through the door, I didn't miss Canada at all. And I didn't think I was homesick per se, but when I got home, I couldn't believe how happy I was to be in my own space and to have my own kitchen. And again, I was so grateful to be able to stay in this great house with our in-laws, but to have your own kitchen. And let me just say, I hate my kitchen. Like, the running joke is that Declan's going to come home one day and I will just be sitting there with a sledgehammer and the kitchen be gone, like in a million pieces, because it's not really that functional. It needs updating. I'm not sure really what to do with it. That's a big job. We didn't want to do any renovations on the house while our dog was senior. That would have been really disruptive to her because obviously our whole lives revolved around her and her comfort. So in many ways, I can't stand my kitchen. And then I got home and Declan's like, how do you feel about the kitchen now? And I was like, I love my kitchen. I get to bake again. I get to eat whenever I want. I don't have to worry about running into people or they're needing the stove or whatever it is. So just reconnecting with my own home, being able to think clearly again. But so grateful that I stepped into the discomfort, that I took that time away, that I saw a different perspective, that I saw how other people live their lives. I mean, there is a little bit more of a relaxed vibe over there. It's a little hard to say because we weren't living a true, like a normal existence. We're in a bit of a bubble. But crazy over there, they don't just talk about work. They have weeks of vacation. It's like Europe. They have like 5-6 weeks of vacation. My sister-in-law's in England and we were asking about her vacation. She's like, yeah, I think I have 5 or 6 weeks. Like, she didn't even know. And I was like, and here in North America, you're like, okay, I have this many days left. And if I take them this day at this schedule, at this part of the year, like, I can maximize it. Over there, it's very different. They're much more relaxed. They don't just talk about work. It's so refreshing to see that and to see the different perspective. They socialize all the time. Obviously, the pub is a huge part of the culture, which for me is a little bit challenging. I don't really want to spend all my time in a pub. However, I will say, if you're not really into the whole drinking thing, Every pub in Ireland has non-alcoholic beers. They have a huge selection, and they've really started catering to that market. So that's great if you don't want to just drink all day, which is kind of isn't what I was really interested in. But the socialization, the community. I mean, he's from a town of 1,000 people, so you get to know everybody. Everyone knows everyone. You know everyone's story. While we're walking through the forest, literally a woman jogs by and she goes, "Declan," and she nods at him and she keeps running. And I was like, "Who's that?" He's like, "Oh, remember yesterday when we saw that other guy, Declan, in the cafe? That's his sister's wife." And that happened all the time. Everyone was just somehow connected. And there's something really comforting about that. There's something almost magical about it. You do feel like you have a sense of community, which you don't have in Toronto. It's very isolating. I mean, I know there's little pockets, but if I think about where we live, we have, people that we chat with, and there is a little bit of a community. It's not at all the same. However, on the flip side, everyone knows everyone's business. Like, everyone knows who's going for a walk and when, what their route is. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'd heard people say, "Oh yeah, well, that's so-and-so. And they walk around this loop every single day and they go there at 6:00 in the morning." Like, how these people know everything about every move you make. And it did make me self-conscious. I was like, I don't want to, I don't know. I just sort of wanted to hide. And I think that's a Cancerian in me. We need that kind of cozy home base where we just kind of like do our own thing. But again, I was good to get out of my comfort zone. I think I needed that kick in the butt to see things differently. And to appreciate how happy I am to be back in my little home office recording this podcast again. And we've got some great episodes coming up. And check out my Instagram for all the photos so you can visually see what I'm talking about. And I do hope you all get to go to Ireland soon. It is truly a magical place. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. Be sure to follow this podcast, visit alanaruoso.com, and of course, share it so we can build each other up. And before I go, remember to be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.